And now to the other candidate for vice president, Virginia Senator Tim Kaine, who joins us from Miami. Senator, you and your campaign have talked about these hacked emails of Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta as coming from the influence or having the influence of the Russian government. If Secretary Clinton were president, what would she do to retaliate against the Russians?
Well, I have not talked with Hillary about this, but there does need to be a consequence. When a foreign nation tries to destabilize an American election, which is what Donald Trump encouraged back in late July. He said, hey, Russia, go see if you can cyber hack and find things that will help me win. But when a foreign government tries to do this, there has to be a consequence. There will be time for figuring what that consequence is, but you can't let it go unchallenged, because if you do, you just could encourage more of it.
Do you see any link between the Trump campaign and these disclosures that have come out?
I can't assert any direct link except for Donald Trump's encouragement. It was, I think, during the week of the convention in Philadelphia, Donald Trump took a stage and he basically said, hey, I would encourage cyber hackers, Russia, see if you can find information on Hillary Clinton that will help me win. You know, that was shocking. Later, when he was challenged about it, he said, well, I was just being sarcastic. I don't think it's funny when you have a nation like Russia that has engaged in activity to destabilize elections in countries, Ukraine, Estonia. They've engaged in that activity, and somebody running to be president of the United States shouldn't be encouraging another nation to cyber hack the U.S.
When you look at these emails in this hacked cache of emails, there's a lot of effort to tell the voters a different story than what Hillary Clinton's apparent position is on issues from trade to the XL pipeline, efforts to dodge using a word from the emails on the question of the email server. Don't voters have a right to get the straight story from a candidate who's asking to be given so much power?
Well, I think you can, and you can ask the people involved in any of the emails what they think about the topics. John, here's something that we do have to just state very plainly. Not only are these emails an effort by WikiLeaks in Russia to try to destabilize our election, but second, you can't assume that they're all accurate. One of the emails that came out this week referred to me. It was completely inaccurate, and I don't know whether it was inaccurate because the sender didn't know what he or she was talking about or it had been doctored. But anybody who is going to try to cyber attack and then try to destabilize an election, you can't trust that they're going to maintain scrupulous honesty about the content of what they're dumping out for the world to see.
When people look at the WikiLeaks emails, is it the standard of truthfulness in those conversations that we should expect from the Clinton administration?
Well, look, I'm not spending a lot of time looking at them for the reason that I stated earlier. I don't even assume that they're all accurate.
Let me ask you this, Senator. There's you and others in your campaign have compared this to Watergate, said that the Trump campaign shouldn't be making hay about these hacked emails, which are essentially stolen. But the Clinton campaign made a lot of hay about Donald Trump's tax returns, which was also disclosed without his knowledge or willingness. So why aren't you making hay of that, and now they're making hay of this?
Well, look, they choose how to run the campaign. If they want to make hay, they can. But here's one thing we ought to demand of Donald Trump. Every time this comes up, that these WikiLeaks Russia documents are connected to Russia, he is the only one standing on the stage to defend Russia. Well, we don't know that Russia was involved. It might be a big guy sitting in his parents' basement. And he, over and over again, he is defending Russia on this as if Russia isn't involved, even though the Director of National Intelligence and Justice Department and FBI officials have connected Russia to these attacks. Why does Donald Trump keep going out of his way to defend Russia on that? He should condemn Russia. In fact, it's even been reported that he's received intelligence assessments laying these attacks at Russia's feet, but for some reason he seems to want to defend Vladimir Putin. I don't get it. He can make hay of whatever he wants to, but I think he ought to, instead of making weird claims that our election is rigged and challenging the integrity of the American electoral process, he should be standing up against people who are trying to destabilize our election.
But the Clinton campaign is saying the Trump campaign is doing something wrong by talking about this. And if that's the case, then were you wrong to be talking about his leaked tax returns?
No, because look, I'm not saying Trump is wrong to be talking about this. That's not me, and I don't know that we're really saying that. Donald Trump made a promise to the voters in 2014, if I run, I'm going to release my tax returns. And secondly, as you know, that is the precedent for all in the modern era to release them. The New York Times has a story that has some information about Donald Trump's taxes, and we think the information essentially confirms what Donald Trump himself said on a debate stage. When Hillary Clinton said, "You probably don't pay taxes," Donald Trump said, "Yeah, that makes me smart." Hey, there's a whole lot of us out here who pay taxes to support our military and to support our veterans, and we don't like being called stupid by a guy like Donald Trump who brags about not paying taxes and stiffing our troops and stiffing veterans.
With respect to Donald Trump and these accusations about his behavior, you've mentioned that it shows a pattern of behavior on Donald Trump's part. But that's what Democrats defended against with Bill Clinton in 1992. Republicans say these allegations represent a pattern of behavior, and that means he shouldn't be president. So if it was good enough to defend Bill Clinton to say there's a separation, why isn't that a good enough defense for Donald Trump?
Well, first, Bill Clinton is not on the ballot. This is a race between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. And second, look, I don't reach a conclusion about any particular allegation, but you do have to look at Donald Trump's own words and actions. The tape that came out 2 Fridays ago that was kind of created this bombshell was not somebody else saying something about Donald Trump. It was Donald Trump telling everybody, "This is the way I treat women." And then in the debate stage last Sunday, he was asked point blank, "Did you act in accord with what you said?" And he didn't want to answer that question. He tried to avoid it a couple of times, but Anderson Cooper pinned him down, and he looked at the camera and he said, "No, I never acted that way. I talked about it, I never did it." Well, when you look America in the face and say that, then suddenly people are coming up here, there, all over the country saying, no, actually, that is the way Donald Trump acts. And it shouldn't be surprising, given the way he's talked about women from the beginning of the campaign and throughout his career, and frankly, the way he's talked about others as well. People can reach their own conclusion about it, but when somebody's actions are so closely connected to how he says he acts, I mean, I think people will draw the conclusion that Donald Trump's got a real problem in this area.
Senator, one other question about email. There have been some reports that you've been emailing Hillary Clinton during the campaign and you about various things. Why, given all the hacking that's going on, would anybody communicate by email?
That's a really good question, John. I think all of us, until I can find a carrier pigeon that's really fast, we've got to communicate, and we're not always together in person. And so sometimes we talk by phone and sometimes we email. But I think we're all very mindful of the fact that our emails could be displayed in an accurate or highly altered version for the world to see, and then we act accordingly in what we decide to send.
Senator Kaine, thanks for being with us.
All right, thanks a lot.